Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Lunchtime Live today for Remember a Charity Week. This week is dedicated to raising awareness of charitable gifts in wills. My name's Kate Burgess, and I am the Alumni Relations and Development Manager here at the University of Suffolk. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. We wanted to bring you a session as part of this week, which not only looks at the importance of having a will, but we also wanted to provide a bit more information on what it really means to leave a legacy donation within a will as well. I'm really lucky to be joined today by Vicky Hosking and Natasha Hodby. So Vicky, if I could come over to you and you could just introduce yourself a little bit, please.
Yes, I'm Vicky Hosking. I'm managing partner of Smith & Co. Solicitors. We have offices in the east and west of Suffolk, so cover a broad area. I'm also a solicitor as well and work in the private client department. So that includes wills, probate, powers of attorney, all of those kind of areas of law.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. If I could come across to you, Natasha, as well. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Hodby. I'm the Grants and Gifts Officer here at the University of Suffolk. So I support people with donating and fundraising for the university, which includes gifts and wills.
Fantastic. So a mountain of information between the two of you, I'm sure, a mountain of knowledge. So we're just going to, like I said, talk to you a little bit about the importance of wills. And Vicky, if I could come to you to give us a bit of an overview of wills and what that really entails.
So first of all, if we start off with what is a will, so that's a legal document stating how you wish to leave your estate after death. So in simple terms, that's what it is. Now, it gives you the opportunity to appoint executors, make gifts, and also allow for appointing legal guardians. So some really important decisions can be made within that document. Interestingly, a little fact for you, only 47% of people in the UK have a will. So there's still a long way to go in terms of making sure we get the message across that a will is a really important thing to have in place, because it allows you to actually put your wishes in place for what you want to happen after your death.
Absolutely, incredibly important. And how do you actually make a will?
So a will, being a legal document, it has to meet certain formalities. So it has to state your name. It has to be signed by you, and it has to be signed in the presence of two witnesses. And those two witnesses also have to sign in your presence. And if those formalities are not met, the will is invalid. Now, a will doesn't have to be made by a solicitor, and I think that's really important to remember, because you can write your own will, you can buy one from the post office, or you can have a solicitor help you write a will. But the most important thing is that those key formalities are met in making any kind of will, whether homemade or professional.
Thank you. And what would you say the most important reasons there are for actually having a will?
So I think the key things to bear in mind is that it ensures that your assets go to those that you want it to go to. So it allows you to include, family members if that's what you want, but also good causes and charities, which I know Natasha is going to come on and discuss as well. It also makes it clearer and easier for those that your loved ones that you leave behind, because at a time when perhaps you're experiencing some grief within the family, the will oils the wheels and makes things clear and simple for those who are left behind. As I mentioned, it can also then appoint legal guardians for any children under the age of 18. And that's really important, because for parents, that's something that they really may want to discuss between themselves. and I remember when my family was young and we were facing the prospect of going on holiday together, we really did need to think, well, who do we want to raise our children, you know, in the event that something were to happen to us. So that's really important as well. And also it can help with estate planning, so inheritance tax planning. And that's really where a good solicitor and working with an accountant as well, is that there are some benefits to getting organised, giving your estate some planning in order to benefit from any exemptions and things like that. And that's also very important for making gifts to charities.
Really interesting, thank you. And you've mentioned some reasons there why it's so important, but what can you run through as what actually happens if you don't have a will?
So one comment that we get a lot of, which is quite interesting, which is a bit of a misconception, is that if you don't have a will, then it goes to the Crown. And I don't think there's a lot of people who don't want the King to benefit from their estate, but that's actually a misconception. What happens if you don't have a will? Then it follows what's called the rules of intestacy. And so in law, the rules of intestacy are there to provide for those people for the 53% of people who haven't made a will. And that allows then for the estate to be administered. And primarily in that situation, it would go first and foremost to your spouse and children.
Right.
So, but if you're not married and you have children, then it actually then flows down to family members. So you may end up that then some extended family members may end up inheriting your estate. And this is surprisingly commonplace. And it may be that you don't want your estate going to a distant relative. And the benefit of having a will is that then it gives you the opportunity to think about, well, who do I want to? It may be friends, it may be to charities, local charities, national charities. And so actually it then gives you the opportunity to make sure that's in place. And the other group of people that I think really benefit from having a will in place are those who live in blended family situations, where you may have children from a previous marriage, but of course you want to provide for your current spouse and family. And those scenarios, whilst on the face of it seem more complex, we as private client will writing practitioners, we have lots of very, very good practical and legal advice to give people in those scenarios. So I would say that's where you would really benefit from engaging with a solicitor who, we meet with people day in, day out in these situations. And I think people in blended families find that advice really reassuring and helpful.
Absolutely, thank you. And as you're speaking, I'm kind of thinking, well, people can make a will, but their lives are journeys and our journeys change all the time. So what would you say to someone if they wanted to update their will? How would they go about doing that? So they've already had one signed off, etc. Is there a limit to how many times someone could update their will?
No, I always say I think the first will is the hardest. And there are lots of reasons why people don't write a will. So I hear all kinds of reasons, and it's fascinating. I think once you've made that first will and you realise that actually it's quite painless, then you can review it at any time, and there is no limit. And you're right, people's circumstances change, and I think wills do need to be reviewed, either subject to a key change, such as a marriage, or perhaps coming into inheriting some money themselves, and so their wealth status changes. So it's important, you may then go on to have children, so it needs to be updated. I think as a very rough rule, I would say you want to be really having that, the thoughts of review, I would say at least every 5 years, outside of those key events that I've just mentioned. Because it's good just to keep engaged that it is up to date and it is still in line with your wishes. And of course, as children grow, we don't need guardians anymore. So we often see that those reviews as an opportunity to do a bit of tidying up. So I would say wills, they are, once you've made one, you continue to review it from time to time.
Absolutely, thank you. And listening to what you're saying, is really a will's about establishing what your wishes are and stating those very clearly and obviously in this document, which leads us on to talking about people that may want to leave a gift in a will, for example, which brings me to you, Tash, if that's okay. So why would someone consider leaving a gift to a charity within their will?
Yeah, so a third of total donations to UK charities at the moment currently come from gifts in wills. So a third of all charitable activities that are taking place in the UK are funded by gifts in wills. So just as an example, a third of all the research conducted by Cancer Research UK is actually funded by gifts in wills. So each year, millions of people are supported by charities, and that's thanks to gifts people leave in their wills. So without them, many charities might no longer exist, and many would struggle to deliver anywhere near their current level of services. And I also think there's something really special about leaving a gift in your will to charity, as you're creating a lasting legacy to a cause that means a lot to you. So even after you do pass, you're still having a significant and lasting impact on others, which I think is really special.
Absolutely, absolutely. And why would you think someone might consider leaving a gift to the University of Suffolk within their wills? As we know, as many people may not know on this chat, the university is a charity itself, isn't it? So can you talk us through why someone might leave a gift or what that gift might go towards?
Yeah, of course. So the University of Suffolk was established to transform lives through education. And as you mentioned, we do have charitable status. So gifts in wills can have a really significant impact on our students. They could, for example, remove financial barriers for students to attend higher education. They could support us in delivering world-leading research, and they could inspire the greatest minds. So for example, we had a legacy donation left to our history department in the will of a local historian. And for years, this gift has supported additional staffing, funded extra books and trips. It also funded research in the area that this person was passionate about. So his love of history continues to impact students today and will do for many years to come. So aside from this, donations to university have also funded work placements for students who are neurodiverse, bursaries for students from low-income families, additional support for care experienced students, and so much more. So a donation to the University of Suffolk does change lives and will have an impact for generations to come. And I think it's most likely that a lot of people watching today will have an existing connection to the university and may have studied or worked here. And hopefully the university has had an impact on your life. And now by leaving a gift in your will, you can continue to ensure we can impact future students and our local community.
Thank you. I think that really explains very well what the impact that, well, gifts within wills, but any gift to the university can actually have. And does it have to be a large gift? Can it be something small?
So it's a really common myth that you need to leave a large amount to charity, but even a small donation can make a huge difference. And of course, it's likely you'd want to consider loved one first, but even 1% of your total estate could be left to the University of Suffolk in your will, and then those closest to you would still inherit 99%. And what may seem small to someone could have a really huge impact on a student. So for example, our Inspiring Futures Fund supports students with career development, and it's funded items like interview clothes, travel expenses to interviews, as well as expenses for unpaid work experience. And these really seemingly small amounts, such as a few pounds to travel to an interview, can have a huge and transformational impact on students' careers. It could be the reason they end up in the career they do. So every gift matters, no matter the size.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. And do people need to tell, not just us, but any charity that they're leaving a gift to within a will? Do you need to inform that charity?
So you don't have to tell chosen charities that you're leaving them a gift in your will. However, I would recommend informing them because it helps the charity plan future activity, but also any organisation would love to understand what your wishes are, how you'd like the gift in your will to be used. And if you want it to go towards something specific, it's important the charity does know this in advance because they'd need to ensure that that is actually possible. So while you don't have to tell the charity, I would recommend doing so.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. It's really informative for people to hear that kind of practical advice. And like you've both dispelled some myths there for people, I think, as well, which is really interesting. We've had a few questions. Sorry, carry on.
I just wanted to add on to a point that Tash was saying there about giving gifts in a will, just from a practical point. So there are two ways to make gifts. One is that you can gift a specific amount of money as well. And that is quite easy to do that by way of a codicil. And a codicil is a more simple, direct way of making a small change to your will. So anybody that has existing wills at the moment and they feel inspired by what Tash has said today, then that's something that they could maybe approach their solicitor to help them with a codicil for a specific gift of money. And the other way, as Tash said, is by including it in the residuary estate as a percentage, which would actually be more inclined to a proper will review. So I just wanted to let people know that they've got to an easy access way as well as a proper will review.
Fantastic, thank you. And that may answer some of the additional questions that we've had come in prior to the session, actually. Because people are interested in, and you have mentioned this before, Vicky, when you first started, but do you have to use a solicitor to make a will? But also within that, if you wanted to change your will and leave a gift further down the line, and that's the only bit you wanted to change in your will, do you need to come to a solicitor for that?
So, so as I said, you don't need to use a solicitor. I think the key difference between using a solicitor and not is the advice that we offer, and the advice extends to making sure you've covered everything and there isn't anything that you haven't considered, and also whether there's any estate planning. Now that doesn't mean that only people with complex estates need to use solicitors, but actually we tend to cover more things than people are likely to think about. So I think that's the main advantage. And as I've just said, giving a gift it is quite easily done by way of a codicil, and that's, you know, any solicitor can help with that. They're very similar. They need to be signed, they need to be witnessed, and so these same formalities need to be followed.
Yeah, so beneficial to actually come and speak to a solicitor to look at what all your different options are and how you can move forward in the right way for you as an individual.
And I know people will think, well, I am going to say that because I'm a solicitor, but so I am biased. You know, I put my hands up, but I am also in great favour of actually there needs to be access to justice for all people, and actually knowing that you can write your own will as long as you follow the formalities that I've mentioned. Then actually it's still possible.
Thank you. And another question that's come through is about actually the process of making a will, but how long does that actually take? I'm sure it's different for different cases as such, but what can people expect to be a kind of timeline for that?
I would say we aim to, I would say from start to finish, you're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks. Of course, we do have to work promptly. We also deal with deathbed wills. We also will go and see people at home. That's very important as well, because I feel very passionately that actually these need to be available for everybody, and removing those barriers for people who it's so important for them to be able to set down their testamentary wishes, because they may be end of life or at home. It's so important that everybody has the opportunity to be able to write down their wishes that we've discussed, which is why it's so important to people. So it doesn't need to be a lengthy process at all. The more organised and the more thought that people have given to who they want to leave it to and who they want to appoint, that's really great preparation before the meeting. And we send out a questionnaire really just to give people some guidance. So over a glass of wine, a cup of tea, actually your cogs can be whirring and giving some thought as to what your wishes are. So that will help you.
So possibly not as daunting a task as some people may think. So almost dispelling another myth for us there, that it can just be about having a conversation with someone like yourself to really work through what your wishes are. And it doesn't have to be it is a formal process, but as much of a formal process as maybe people have in their heads.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, that a lot of people at the end are grateful and thankful that actually it hasn't been as bad as they feared. So I do hope today that it has reassured people that solicitors are not scary. They're not scary people. Law firms aren't as stuffy as they used to be. And so, I'd really, really just encourage people to walk in, pick up the phone and actually just tick it off your task list. We all have a lot of things on our life admin list now, don't we? And I think a will sits on a lot of people's to-do list. So really, I'm just here to try and encourage people to put that higher up the list of things to do.
Absolutely. And another question's come through, possibly more for you, Natasha, but looking at leaving gifts for charities, how do people decide what charity to leave a gift to?
Yeah, of course. So that is completely up to the individual. And I'd say if you don't already have a favourite charity or cause and one that you already support, just have a think about what's important to you. So perhaps you or someone you care about has been supported by a charity, or you feel particularly strongly about a cause. So, for example, if you're passionate about Suffolk or education, you may consider the University of Suffolk as somewhere you'd want to leave a gift in your will, so you could support future generations to continue to have access to education. It is a tough decision, so I'd say do research. All charities and organisations should have websites with lots more information about what they do, so you can have a look and make sure it really aligns with your values and what you'd like your future legacy to be.
Okay, and if someone wanted to leave a gift to the University of Suffolk in their will, how would they go about this? How would they go about understanding what a difference it makes to us and actually the practical kind of starting from scratch?
Yeah, of course. Well, we'd love to speak to you if you're interested in leaving a gift in your will to the University of Suffolk. I'd suggest looking at our website. We have a dedicated legacy page, and we have a legacy brochure on there as well, which you can download and flick through, and has lots of helpful information. And we'd love to speak to you directly, so please do get in touch. You can email us at giving@uos.ac.uk, which has just come up on screen.
And also, I think the benefit of working as well with local solicitors is that we can also liaise with the university to make sure the correct wording and drafting goes into that clause in the will. Because I like what Tash had to say, it's that you can make it specific to, say, a certain department or a particular cause, which we do have clients that do want it to be to a certain department, or a child that has experienced a loss of a parent, and so the fund is actually used for that dedicated purpose. So we get lots of really interesting variations within that gift clause, and I think that's the real advantage, is that we can work together as well.
Yeah, definitely be a partnership between us and as solicitors yourselves, to really, it's about ironing out what those real wishes are, isn't it? That it's not just about leaving an amount of money, that can go to your very specific wishes within the university, or indeed any other charity as well. So I think that's really important to discuss. Well, that's all the questions we have for the session. Is there anything else either of you would like to add to what we've spoken about today?
No, I think that's everything. It's just in terms of just reminding everybody who can make a will. So you have to be over 18. You do have to have mental capacity as well. And you have to make the will voluntarily, which I think is quite interesting, because as solicitors, we are assessing that nobody is being forced to enter into the process and being subjected to any kind of undue influence or duress as well. So yes, if you meet all of those criteria, then you need to have a think about writing a will.
Thank you. That's so helpful. That's really useful information. Tash, is there anything else you'd like to add at all?
Just to say thank you to everyone who's been listening, and if they do have any further questions after this, please do reach out to us. We'd love to speak with you. Thank
you very much. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us today as this part of Remember a Charity Week. I think it's been such important information to get out to people and raise that awareness of how important a will can be to your lives, but also to touch on what impact those gifts in wills can make, which is just so vital to the future of lots of different charities and to us at the university. So thank you so much. As Tash said, you can find out more about legacy donations to the university on our website. Link is coming up on the screen now, or you can contact us on the giving email, giving@uos.ac.uk as well. And you can also contact Smith & Co Solicitors and have a good chat through what your options are with regards to wills, which we do highly recommend. So the webpage is coming up at the bottom now. I know Vicky would love to speak to you. So thank you for all of that. Our next live session is coming up on October 13th. So this is where we'll be hosting a live interview with our Vice-Chancellor and CEO, Professor Jenny Hyam. And she's going to be reflecting on the past year's achievements at the university and discussing what our plans are for the new academic year, starting very soon in our calendars. So please do keep an eye out for the links to that. But thank you again to both Natasha and Vicky for joining us today. It's been an absolute delight to speak to you. And we will see you at the next live session. So thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.